Hey, good morning. I'm Bobby Robinson, Senior Product Engineer with Ace Pumps, here to talk about our Pro 5 Series pumps that we've received top 10 new products for the World Ag Expo this year. Um, so right here we've got our one of those products, the FMCWS 125 HYD 204 pump, cutaway, sitting on the table. And I guess we'll dive right into our PowerPoint presentation. So there's the Pro 5 Series, top 10 products with World Ag Expo. So we've got two different product sizes and then two different seal options available on basically all of those models. So the 125 pumps are going to be 1.25" suction by 1" discharge, and that's available with a 4 or 6 gallon per minute motor. And the 155 is going to be 1.5" suction by 1.25" discharge. Now, if you're familiar with our products, these are going to have similar performance to our standard products, FMC HYD 204 or the FMC 150F HYD 206. And then, so we've got the two classifications, FMCSC, that's going to have a heavy duty silicon carbide seal, and that's available on all the pumps. And we're also going to offer a wet seal version that can handle indefinite run dry. So some of the common applications for these pumps will be ag sprayers or fertilizer applicators. Just in general, our pumps are used on de-icing equipment, mining equipment, other special applications, basically that anywhere you've got a hydraulic supply and you need to move water or chemicals. So like I've said already, all pumps are available with silicon carbide seal or the Oasis wet seal. We're also going to have larger bearings in this pump over our standard product for longer pump life. All the castings are E-coated. If you want to. Mm-hmm. So, here's one of the castings. What we're going to do is fully machine the casting, and then it's going to go through a 12-stage dip process where it gets an epoxy paint applied. This is a really heavy-duty coating. You can go back. Designed for superior corrosion resistance. The one of the things you get over time with cast iron is chemicals are going to wear away and shorten pump life. We've found over the years that the E-coat greatly improves pump life. It's kind of one step down from a stainless steel pump at much less cost. We're also going to have these pumps were all designed to have part interchangeability. So we've got one frame that goes into the entire series. We've got one seal plate that's used if it's a wet seal pump, and then you've got different volutes or impellers just depending on what size pump you have. And then all the motors are interchangeable. Any 200 or 300 series motor. These are also available with PWM motors as well, the 206 or the 304. So talking about the part interchangeability a little more, this is just kind of a graphic showing what I was discussing. one frame, one seal plate. Then you've got two different size volutes depending on which size pump you want, 1.25 inches by 1 inch or 1.5 inches by 1.25 inches. And then same thing, a different impeller for each different pump size. If you get a wet seal pump, there's only one seal plate for the entire range. And I think we can move on. So that, that was designed to kind of simplify the inventory and the number of parts you're going to have to stock for any kind of repairs. I think we drifted back. One of the other changes that are, that's unique with this Pro 5 series, most of our motors are connected to the frame with 4 bolts that on a 200 series would go through the motor and then thread into the frame. As you can see, this motor, we're calling it the Pro 5 motors. They have 2 bolts running from the inside of the motor, and then it will be secured to the frame with the other 2 bolts. Then, if you have a 300 series motor, the pump frame will have threaded holes, through holes, drilled through holes here, where you can attach a 300 series motor from the other side. So yeah, the one frame for this product line is designed to adapt to a 200 or 300 series motor, and you can kind of see for the 200 series on top here, the bolts go through the motor, thread into the frame. On a 300 series motor, they'll come from the other side of the frame, go through the frame, and thread into the motor. Okay. So that was just kind of some of the basics with the Pro 5 series. Now we're going to get into a little more detailed look at the different seal options and really why we're offering this product line. So if you've dealt with centrifugal pumps much at all, you probably know mechanical seal failures are the #1 failure mode for centrifugal pumps. Some of the most common issues are run dry, which you can see there at the left. This is when a customer continues to pump after they're running the pump after the tank is dry. The seals can get up to over 800 degrees Fahrenheit fairly quickly, and that'll melt any rubber that's in the seal. You can also get thermal shock, which is the cracks you see there on that white face of the seal. Another common failure mode is abrasive wear on a carbon face. If you're pumping anything that has hard particles in it, it can get in and scratch a carbon face and kind of groove it like a record, which can lead to leaks. You can also see chemical buildup like you see down at the bottom, or slip stick where you're pumping something sticky and it kind of glues the faces together. So for the FMCSC versions of our Pro 5 series pumps, they're all going to have a silicon carbide seal in them. And so this silicon carbide is extremely hard, and you won't get abrasive wear type failures. It's not soft enough to get scratched by anything that you're pumping. Now, one of the big benefits of the Pro 5 seal over our standard seals is the seal itself is mounted with an O-ring, and it's going to press into the pump frame, but it's able to make contact with the cast iron on the back and the sides, on the back and the sides. So any heat that you build up while the pump's running dry, you are able to dissipate into the cast iron frame. So with this version, you're able to extend your run dry life, but it's still not considered, we don't consider it necessarily a run dry pump. At some point, you could have a failure due to run dry with this seal, but it's much better than a standard seal. Okay. And then the FMCWS wet seal versions are going to come with our Oasis wet seal pumps. So these pumps, basically, if you can see there in the cutaway, the blue section of the pump has a dual mechanical seal, and that chamber is going to be filled with oil. And so if there's no fluid in the pump where the impeller is, there's no damage to the seal if you continue running with the pump chamber empty, because the seal is running in its own oil bath. So the goal of this system basically is to get you through any critical application windows. You know, when you have good weather, it's not windy. We don't want you to have any downtime when you need to, you know, apply your chemicals. So the way this works, the oil in that chamber that I mentioned a moment ago, it's going to be able to, you know, cool and lubricate the seal faces anytime you are running dry. So one of the other benefits, it also isolates the mechanical seal from any of the liquids that you're pumping. So they might be sticky, they might be abrasive, they might like to bond to the seal. But if you're properly maintaining the seal chamber, your pump fluid is never actually going to come in contact with our seal. So here's a little sectional view of our wet seal pumps. You can see the seal chamber there is going to have a fill plug with an air Schrader valve and a drain port down at the very bottom. Then we've got our seal fluid, which is going to be, you know, slightly above the level of the seal. We've got our dual mechanical seal, and then the process fluid is whatever you're pumping over there by the impeller. So the high pressure fluid, when you're running, is going to come out the discharge of the pump. Now, during normal operation, we're going to have low pressure coming into the inlet of the pump, and that low pressure gets I guess communicated to the seal through what's called balance holes in the through the impeller. So this might actually be a vacuum in this area, you know, negative pressure here. And then we're going to fill the seal chamber with 15 psi of air pressure. And what that's going to do is help force the oil across the seal faces. And there you can kind of see the typical flow. Since we've got negative pressure on the pump side of our seal, it's going to tend to want to pull, you know, a small amount of oil or barrier fluid into the pump and keep those seals isolated from our fluid. So that's the, you know, basics of how the system works. So some of the benefits of the system basically are to keep you from having any downtime. If you properly maintain the chamber, you can avoid all of the common mechanical seal failures that we've already mentioned: run dry, abrasive wear, slipstick, and chemical buildup. So to do this, we need to, you know, check the air pressure in the seal chamber, or if you don't want to do that, you can connect regulated air supply to it. And that way we know that the chamber always has pressure. And then we need to just check the sight gauge on the side of the pump weekly to make sure that there's fluid in the pump and that it is still clear. If the barrier fluid gets any of your pump chemical in it, it will turn milky or turn brown or black. It'll change colors and be quite obvious that the pump needs attention. So as you run your pump more and more, you might notice that it requires, to add pressure more frequently, or need to be topped off with more fluid. Anytime the fluid becomes cloudy or discolored, you need to service your pump. Look into servicing your pump at the next time it's raining or you can't get out and spray. So at the end of the season, we recommend just checking your fluid. Just drain it into a clean container. If it's clear, plug your pump off and pour the oil back into your pump. If it's cloudy or discolored, you might as well go ahead and change the seal and be ready for next season. So there's a couple of pictures of some used oil. It should be clear like water. So we've also got a full range of PWM motors available, and they are available for our Pro 5 series. These allow the pump to run slower and only as fast as it needs to save horsepower, wear and tear on the pump, and other parts of your system. Basically, you're going to have a rate controller that is going to send a signal to the valve on our motor, telling it to open or close, depending on if you need more or less product. The 2-valve system that we use on the 206 and 304 give the best control resolution available. So as your rate controller needs to see a faster rate, it's able to respond more quickly. There's no bypass circuit needed, and so that's able to prevent heat or foam from pumping too hard. The second valve also prevents overspeeding, and all of our PWM valves have a manual override for troubleshooting or emergency situations where you don't have electricity. We've got a few photos here of some of our pumps. This is just showing the 1 1/4 by 1 inch, 125 standard SC seal up to 90 gallons a minute, 120 PSI. Same pump, same performance. This is with the wet seal added and is also the cross section we have sitting on our table. This is the 155. This is going to have threads and flanges up to 145 gallons a minute, 120 PSI. Same pump with a larger motor. It's an 8.5 gallon motor, gallon per minute motor. You'll get a little more performance, 155 gallons a minute, 130 PSI. So we've also got both of those pump options with the wet seal. And there's the 304 with the wet seal. And then other new products, we have the self-priming polypropylene pump. It's called the GE85. We've got an FMC hydraulic 75, and we've got the belt drive 75. So those three are shown there at the left. So these are going to be great for smaller sprayers, maybe something pulled by a 4-wheeler or something where the pump can't be mounted below the tank. Like most centrifugal pumps, you either need to be mounted below the tank or you have to put a foot valve at the end of the suction plumbing. So this on this kind of thing where you don't have a lot of space, The pump could be mounted on top of a tank, and then it can, easily lift somewhere up to 6 feet if it has to. And then we've also got a new 206R reverse rotation motor for our poly pumps that has just become available. Please let us know if you have any questions.